Hi everyone. Yep. So we continue on from with our LU3 now. Okay. What we do is since the class on Saturday, okay. So this recording is to follow up on that bit, okay, of the class. So that LU that we had was LU2. This one will be LU3. Okay. Well, technically, I think we do a bit of recap. So we went through like this is after your environment scan. From your environment scan, you decided this is the needs, the demands, and then the environment scan, and then you also would do some technical studies and all that. So that one will boils down to a project charter, and a project charter essentially is a very simple document. It's more like the concept, like what is the product at the end of the day, okay, with the different study that you have done, but in a lot of detail at this stage. It's just a project scan, project environment scan, and then different components of the project environment scan, who are the stakeholders, some information that you've collected. So it's okay, we need to do this. We need to do the project like this. This is the product, or this is the project itself that we need to embark on. Okay, so once this is clear, okay, we move on to the next stage called scope planning. Okay, scope planning, essentially there's two parts here. One important part is actually on the definition, okay, or the definition of the product itself. Okay, so here's something that we need to recap you on. Basically, scope planning, we are talking about the product itself. So what are the components? What are the subcomponents? Obviously, we will need to carry out specifically a lot of studies at this stage, such as the site, the location, and the actual proposed site, the proposed location or proposed route and all that. Essentially, we are trying to understand the constraints. Okay, there's some parts of the notes here. Yeah, this is follow on from the project charter. So we've got what is it that we are building. So what are the requirements? What are the constraints? Okay, what is need to be included? What doesn't need to be included? What are the deliverables? And basically, is the product served. So the different things that will help us, the different elements that will help us develop this particular product into something that has not only the product, but the components and subcomponents, okay? So this part of the notes here, you have a lot of these additional notes on what should be included in the scope statement. Okay, this is really to build towards the different components and subcomponents that we are going to be constructing later on, or that we're going to be producing later on, or that we're going to be manufacturing later on. You see, so that also includes some form of conceptual costing, preliminary costing. We can also include some idea of the project duration, some milestones, and then fundings and all that. So, well, this is a list of the elements, not all of them needs to be in there, but then this is a suggestion of what needs to be considered in scope planning. So essentially, scope planning at this stage, we are focusing really on developing the product itself. Okay, so we want to define the product component or define the project components. Okay, components means subcomponents and components. So for example, if you're building a school, you're going to be saying, okay, I need a canteen, I need a library, I need track field, I need classrooms, I need entrance foyer. There's different building, different facilities, so there's different components. And then on some of this will have to be deconstructed into even smaller components. And remember, we are all talking about nouns here. We are not talking about any verb. We're not talking about scope of words, okay? It's nothing to do with verbs. This is all nouns. So we're developing that project into different components and subcomponents, taking into consideration of all these elements, okay? And then, so once the product components and subcomponents are confirmed, okay, so we basically have a scope statement. Okay, so this is like a product breakdown. And then these are the components, these are subcomponents, these are some of the earlier on assessments of the constraints of the site, of the of some assumptions that we made, and then we also talk about what are the requirements, what are the specific needs for the project. It's all outlined here, you see. So, and then we also will want to prepare something. I mean, this scope statement should also include some form of outcomes, meaning that this product should be performance-based, or it should be high performance, long durability, or it should be easily adaptable, or it can be renovated in the future, like adding onto different components as well. So, well, at this stage here, basically, we have our concept. We fully have our concept. So once we fully have our concept, okay, we move on to project screening. So this is the time that you have a good idea of what the project is about. Conceptual drawings, you've got the different components, you've got the market studies, you've got the constraints, you've got what is important, what is not important, what is included or what is not included. So all these things here, in this scope statement, we want to make sure that we screen the project first. Screen as in we want to make sure that whether this is really going to be a go ahead or not. Okay. So project screening, basically, I would say it's on the larger picture, it's on the larger scale. It's not so much of the components and subcomponents. It's more on overall, are we going to proceed with the project or not, So I normally say this as a robustness test. So we are just examining all the benefits and all the costs, okay, to it, and see whether it actually works, you see. So this screening, there is many concept, there's many way of evaluating, screening and evaluating your model and whether you want to reject it or not, you see. So there is an option of do nothing. We still can decide that we're not going to do anything here and let it be, let the project goes on. But we can study and we realize that by doing it, by confirming on it or by proceeding with it, you may get more benefit than cost. So you need to study. Essentially, project screening, we're talking about cost and benefit. And this cost and benefit, again, can come from direction of some monetary values or other units that is non-monetary, like health, legal, law, media, corporate image, all sorts of things, okay? So depending on what organization that you work in, so government, private, NGOs, they all have different motives and they all have different needs, and they have different things that they want that drive their project, you see. So this, you have to be very clear. Government, when dealing with infrastructure project, many of these projects will probably be more public-based, more on serving the public, serving the nation. So you may not get you may get a very, very high cost, initial capital cost, but in the end, you may not get a lot of revenue at all, you see. So you have to remember that private sectors, we are out to make money. That is very clear. You do development, you have a new manufacturing line, you develop a new product, you produce them, you need money. So sometimes they have their own driven needs, they must do it, and that need itself is the benefit that they're going to gain already. So you don't need to talk so much anymore. They have to do this, that the school for the mentally retarded children needs a new building, or they need new facilities, they need new equipment. So they have the drive behind what is needed and what is not needed. So you need to understand where, which organization we're looking at, but broadly we categorize them into private, government, company and or NGOs. So these are the motivation. You need to understand the motivation. When you study the cost and benefit, that's what I'm saying. You need to understand which organization that we are looking at here. Which organization is your client, which organization is your stakeholders before we can proceed into do further studies.